And these are the ma'ruf and known people of hadith, and this is where we take them from. What I would urge people to consider is that we also ourselves have a choice. We want to put YouTube on the same platform as the Turath that was given to us by centuries of posterity, then don't be surprised if we lose that Turath. But this is something a person should be very careful when they talk about the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, not to just make claims off the bat. That's something that deserves to be dismissed right offhand. And I apologize for comfort it caused people, but it is a sensitive issue. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى وسلم على سيدنا محمد سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا. Today we're going to talk about two topics, and it's again a lot of information, a small amount of time. I was thinking there's a small amount of time anyway, but then I realized that the Salat al-Dhuhr and Salat al-Asr are in the middle. It took a little bit longer, I think, to set up than I was hoping for. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to give you the information. I asked for the text for yesterday, and I sent it to him. And inshallah, if anybody wants these texts, they're welcome to have them. Again, they're picked out and they're the purpose is that you have the information and you have the references yourself. So it's not like a personality cult that, well, Sheikh Hamza said this. Sheikh Hamza, there's no Sheikh Hamza I know is, where's Hamza, little Hamza, sitting over there. Inshallah, don't worry about me, who I am, who I'm not. The references are there, you can look them up if you want to. And if you need, I'm happy to help you, but mashallah, all of the hard work, the heavy lifting was done for us by the great mashayikh of the past, and none of it. And because of that, now we can dedicate our time and our energy to solving new issues instead of trying to reinvent the wheel with regards to those things that have been already settled in the past. Because while we're still in our masajid arguing about whether you have to take your socks off to make wudu or not, there's cryptocurrency and there's NFTs and there's all sorts of different types of warfare, and there's all sorts of different types of economic things, and all sorts of things going on that we're ignoring while we kind of go through the fishbowl, trying to reinvent the wheel about things that have been settled in law 100 years ago. And that's something, inshallah, by our coming together in these gatherings of knowledge, we'll develop the awareness of it. We read عن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في الناس فأثنى على الله بما هو أهله ثم ذكر الدجال فقال إني لأنذركموه وما من نبي إلا أنذره قومه لقد أنذر فيه قومه وإن الله ليس بأعور. This is a very, very interesting hadith. This is an extremely interesting hadith. So the word Dajjal in Arabic language means to cheat somebody. So one of the meanings of Dajjal is to take a bar of lead and gild it with gold and pretend that it's a gold bar. One of the meanings of Dajjal is to take an animal like a camel that has mange or like some sort of skin disease, and to put tar over like where the lesions are, and to cut the fur from another animal and put it on so that when you're selling it, it looks like a healthy animal. Meaning what? It looks like one thing from the outside, but in the inside it's completely something else. And the allusion to this is one of the hadiths that we read yesterday, which was what? That their outward appearance will be soft like that of a lamb, and their tongues will be sweeter than honey, but their hearts are the hearts of wolves. And so this is going to be the personification of that concept. That he will come and he'll claim that he's a Messiah-like figure, and he's not. From the inside, it's all just fakery. And here's something to mention, which is every single prophet that came before me, part of his nubuwah was to warn his people about this thing that will come to the end, near the end of time. And I warn, but I'll tell you something, that that no other prophet told his people, which is what? That you'll have one eye. And then he makes a comment, the person, and that Allah Ta'ala, he doesn't have one eye. A person says like, well, that's kind of a weird comment to make in the sense that people understand that Allah Ta'ala is not a human being aslan, right? The fitna of anthropomorphism, of thinking of Allah Ta'ala as if he's a corporeal body, to make him into a human, started in the paganism of ancient times. So you see the ancient Greeks, Hindus, etc., they thought of human powers or whatever. Whereas our hadith, which are mutashabihat, والذي نزل عليك الكتاب منهم آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. There are some that are allegorical. They use a certain phrasing in order to express some point, but it's not meant to be taken literally, which is another issue, is the issue of literalism. But the Quran itself is saying that you can't take everything literally. Mic that maybe we can use instead. Or maybe move the laptop somewhere else. Maybe it's interfering somehow with Wi-Fi. So the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for example, there's a sahih about the Imam al-Adil, the righteous ruler, will be on the Day of Judgment. They'll be on Manabir bin Nur ala Yamin ar-Rahman. They'll be on pulpits of light. And the word Yamin ar-Rahman, literally the expression means on the right side of Allah Ta'ala. The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually clarified in this hadith, Yamin. And both sides of Allah Ta'ala are the right side. Meaning there's no side that, here Yamin means what? Barakah. It doesn't mean Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala transcends all of these things. But there's a fitna that some people have. They think of Allah Ta'ala as having a corporeal body. And by and large, the Ummah has a very interesting relationship with such people. It seems that this is because of Umul Balwa, the Mashayikh, they say, look, other than that, just let them keep worshipping Allah Ta'ala, and inshallah Allah Ta'ala will between them and Allah Ta'ala. However, here what you see in this hadith is what? Even if a person is mubtala on the anthropomorphist thought, even that person has enough common sense to see that they saw of him. Would Allah Ta'ala have such a gross defect? Because the Dajjal will come and claim I'm Allah. Can we get a wide mic, please? The one trigger. They can see that Allah Ta'ala, it's such a gross defect. If Allah created the heavens and the earth from nothing, obviously the gross defect in his face, that wouldn't be there. And this is a help from Allah Ta'ala. There's a question that comes up, which is what? If we're supposed to believe that the prophets are true, one of the reasons we're supposed to believe that the prophets are true is because they came with miracles. Why is it that the Dajjal, when we read through all of these hadith, why is it that the Dajjal is going to do all of these miraculous feats, and we're expected to disbelieve in him? Whereas the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he performs a miracle, we're expected to believe in him. And the answer to that question is what? That the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't claim to be Allah. The Dajjal is claiming to be Allah. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never claimed to be Allah. The Dajjal is claiming to be Allah. The Dajjal's claim is rationally untenable from the very get-go. Why? Because he's obviously part of the creation. How could he be the creator? Thank you so much. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing that we say to the Yahud and the Nasara. Why don't you go ahead and do it, inshallah? So it's the same thing that we say to the Yahud and the Nasara, which is what? I oftentimes get asked by Christians, why is it you don't say that Christ is the Son of God? I say it's very simple. Imagine a carpenter is making a table. Is it possible for, God created the heavens and the earth from nothing, right? Imagine a carpenter making a table. Is it possible that there is a table, part of it made itself? No, because Musabbab has to be separate from the sabab. This is a rational issue. It's like two being bigger than one. It's not really, it doesn't require like being a mantiqi or a philosopher, like a philosopher or whatever to understand. It's a very simple issue. And so the idea is that his being God is obviously alive because he's obviously part of the creation. But for those people who are not like that sharp, because not everybody is at the same level of mental acuity, to put it mildly. Allah Ta'ala, through His mercy, He made another sign that even the most like dim-witted of people are going to be able to know that it's not God. Why? Because He has such a gross defect in His face. And they'll know that this is the proof that this cannot be Allah Ta'ala. At that point, it's only a question. The people who follow Him are going to be the people who love what He has to say, and the people who love Allah Ta'ala will not follow Him. Because it will be difficult, definitely, to not follow Him. But nobody will be confused in that sense. It will be very clear to everybody what's going on, and the people who want to follow Him will follow Him, and the people who want to obey Allah Ta'ala will obey Allah Ta'ala. It's not an issue of confusion, it's an issue of convenience at that point. عن أنس رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يدعو أعوذ بك من البخل والكسل وأرذل العمر وعذاب القبر وفتنة الدجال وفتنة المحيا والممات. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم was from his dua that he used to ask Allah Ta'ala, he used to say, I seek refuge in you from miserliness and from laziness and from the most wretched of old age, and from the torment of the grave, and from the torment of the Dajjal, and from the torment of living and of dying. وعن أنس رضي الله تعالى عنه, the Prophet ﷺ, if he made dua for this, it means it's important. It means that we should mention these things, we should understand these things, we should make dua for these things as well. He's not more in need of the dua than we are. We're more in need of it than he is. He made the dua even though he's already been protected from all of these things, so to teach us that we're the ones who are going to need it. And so we have to prepare for it. وعن أنس رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ليس من بلد إلا سيقطعه الدجال إلا مكة والمدينة ليس له من نقابها نقب إلا عليه ملائكة صافين يحرسونها ثم ترجف المدينة بأهلها 3 رجفات فيخرج الله كل كافر ومنافق. And these are the hadith of Bukhari. That the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that the Dajjal, he's going to visit, he's going to come to every metropolis of the world. The only 2 places that he's not going to be able to enter are Makkah Mukarramah and Medina Munawwara. They'll be protected. He'll try to enter, but he will find that in every entrance to those places, to those holy and sacred places, there will be angels that are there guarding them, like arrayed in ranks. And in another riwayah, with swords unsheathed. You and me won't see them, but he'll be able to see them. They won't let him anywhere near those places. People won't know what's going on, but he'll know what's going on, and we'll know what's going on. And then what will happen is there will be 3 earthquakes in Medina Munawwara that will make life untenable over there for every kafir and munafiq, for every hypocrite and every non-Muslim. Interestingly enough, because the current regime in Hijaz, for the longest time they didn't allow non-Muslims to enter those places, people think that there is like a Shari'i proscription that non-Muslims it's like somehow haram for them to visit those places. It's not. There's some difference of opinion amongst the ulama about this issue, but in general, the Jamhur at least is that it's not haram for them to visit. However, that law has recently been changed over there. I'm not commenting about whether it's a good idea or not, because there's a lot of things that are not haram, but they're still not a good idea. Like for example, the bayan before Jummah, it's not haram for the bayan before Jummah to be given in in Cantonese, Chinese, but nobody will understand it except for maybe 1 or 2 people in the masjid. And so maybe it's not a good idea, even though it's not haram. The idea is that were non-Muslims that would come and go, and there may be still right now non-Muslims that come and go from those places, and there are definitely munafiqeen. There are people who show from the outside iman, and they have kufr on the inside. Those people, the Dajjal is going to be their guide. And if any of them are sitting there just out of laziness or convenience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will kick them all out. Nobody will enjoy the protection of those two places except for the believer. وعن ابن شهاب رضي الله تعالى عنه قال أخبرني عبيد الله بن عبد الله بن عتبة أن أبا سعيد الخدري رضي الله تعالى عنه قال حدث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حديثا طويلا عن الدجال فكان فيما حدثنا به أن قال يأتي الدجال وهو محرم عليه أن يدخل نقاب المدينة بعض الصباح التي بالمدينة. I think there's a while that's missing in this. Unfortunately, many editions of the books of hadith require further tahqiq. فيخرج إليه يومئذ رجل وهو خير الناس أو من خير الناس فيقول أشهد أنك الدجال الذي حدثنا عنك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حديثه. فيقول الدجال أرأيت إن قلت هذا ثم أحييته هل تشكون في الأمر؟ فيقولون لا. فيقتله ثم يحييه فيقول حين يحييه والله ما كنت قط أشد بصيرة مني اليوم. فيقول الدجال أقتله فلا أسلط عليه. And then there's a number of hadith that are related to this narration, so we'll read them all and then we'll discuss them. وأن أبا هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ألا أحدثكم حديثا عن الدجال ما حدث به نبي قومه إنه أعور وإنه يجيء معه بمثال الجنة والنار فالتي يقول إنها الجنة هي النار أنذركم كما أنذر به نوح قومه. وقال عقبة بن عمرو لحذيفة رضي الله تعالى ألا تحدثنا ما سمعت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم؟ قال إني سمعته يقول إن مع الدجال إذا خرج ماء ونارا فأما الذي يرى الناس أنها النار فماء بارد وأما الذي يرى الناس أنه ماء بارد فنار تحرق. فمن أدرك منكم فليقع في الذي يرى أنها نار فإنه عذب بارد. رواه البخاري. These three athar. Ibn Shihab is basically the top carnivore in the field of hadith before Malik. He's from the Tabi'in, and he's a very important person. All the books of the Sihah Sitta narrate from him. And he narrates this from Ubaydullah bin Abdullah bin Utbah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was one of the fuqaha sab'a of Medina, for those of you who have studied the history of the development of fiqh. He's a grandnephew of Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, and he was one of the imams of the ulama in the generation of the tabi'in. That he narrates from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu ta'ala anhu that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us a long hadith about the Dajjal, and from the things that he told us in that hadith were that the Dajjal will come and it will be haram. Allah Ta'ala will make inviolable for him the entrance to any of the pathways to Medina, including the flat, evaporated salt marshes that surround the city. And in those days, there will be a man who is one of the best of people. One of the best of people. Either he's the best of the people or he's one of the best of the people. The narrator doubts which one it was exactly. And he'll say, I bear witness that you are the Dajjal that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us about. That you are that Dajjal. And then you're the Dajjal that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam warned us about in Hadith. So the Dajjal will say to him, or not say to him, say to the people, look at this guy, what he's said to me. What do you think? If I kill him and then I bring him back to life, what do you think? They're like, yeah, that would be amazing. And so what will happen is that he will kill the man and he'll bring him back to life. The narrations are there below in some more detail, that he literally will saw the man in half. He'll pull the two halves apart and he'll walk through them and he'll walk back, and then he'll put the halves together again and bring him back to life. And he will he will bring him back to life, and then he'll ask him, what do you say now? That man, because he's, mashallah, maybe one of you guys will take this hadith to somebody, and then that guy will hear from you. And so he heard from one of you guys. I heard the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is going to happen. And he says that, by Allah, this thing having happened now, there is nothing that's convinced me, given me more clarity and vision, in knowing that you actually are the Dajjal and this thing that you just did. And the Dajjal will then order him to be killed. And the other narration is essentially what will happen is that, well, we'll mention that in a second. But he'll order him to be killed, and he'll just whisper to himself that, like, look at this guy, I can't like overpower him. This is the last portion of the sentence. He says, "Aqtuluhu fala salatu alayhi." Like, look at this guy. All I can do is I can kill him. I can't control him. I can't have any power over him. And that person will be from the best of the shuhada of this ummah, from the best of the martyrs of this ummah. Everybody is going to die one day, right? Obviously, we should plan on doing things in such a way that we achieve our goals without dying, inshallah. That's as soon as a plan, not to have a death wish, not to be kind of like cycle, like, having get our motorbike, rock and roll, have death wish. No, that's not the sunnah. So that's to plan to survive, inshallah. But if it happens, every one of us has to die one day anyway. How fortunate is the one who dies doing something that pleases the Lord. So the next narration, Abu Hurairah narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Should I not tell you some speech about the Dajjal that no Nabi has told his people before him? He only has one eye, and he will, wherever he travels, he'll have something that looks like a Jannah with him, and he'll have something that looks like a hellfire with him. Right? So the word Jannah means like a walled garden, like paradise, something there's flowing water through it, and there's greenery or whatever. And so he'll have these two things wherever he goes with him. And he says that, and indeed I will warn you about this Dajjal, like Nuh alayhi salam warned his people. And the mention of Nuh alayhi salam is very important as well, because you ask a rabbi, like I once asked a rabbi, you guys don't, you have no problem, you're unconcerned about non-Jewish people, like doing whatever they do. They're like, yeah, I'm not, it's not a problem. I'm completely unconcerned. He said, well, that's not really 100% true. What we believe is that the Torah was revealed to us, and this is our deal. And if we're ever in power over other people, then we're commanded to at least enforce what they call the laws of Nuh alayhi salam. It's 7 instead of 10 commandments. They're very basic human things that every human being should, like, you're not supposed to eat an animal without slaughtering it, which sadly seems like people don't practice anymore. But anyway, like, don't commit adultery and don't murder people, etc., etc. And so the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? It's also references there in the Quran. And here also the references there that Nuh alayhi salam mentioned it to be something that everybody, it was a teaching of Nubuwwah that was supposed to reach everybody. And I'm transmitting it to you as well. And then the third hadith that we read was in this series from Uqbat ibn Amir, who said that today for Allah Ibn Yaman. Shall I not tell you what I heard the Messenger of Allah? Will you not tell me what you heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? And so Sayyidina Hudayfa radiallahu anhu narrates a response to them. He says, indeed I heard him say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Dajjal with him is water and fire. Your water is like the Jannah, right? Because it's part of the the water is an allusion to the Jannah, to the paradise. So he has with him water and fire. As for the thing that looks like fire to the people, indeed it is cool water. And not to be confused with the cold. And as for the thing that people think that it's cool water, it's a fire that will burn. And whoever of you reaches that time in that situation, if you have a choice to go to one or the other, go to the one that looks like the fire, because you'll find that it's water, sweet and cool. It's pure, sweet water, and it's cool water. This has to do with the hadith of the man who the Dajjal kills and brings him back to life. And another narration, Basically, the Dajjal, how will he kill him? He'll throw him into his quote unquote fire, which is actually what? It's actually Jannah. عن ابي الدرداء رضي الله تعالى عنه ان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من حفظ 10 آيات من اول سوره الكهف او من اول سوره الكهف عصم من الدجال. The person who Abu Darda رضي الله عنه, the faqih of the people of Sham, from the companions رضي الله عنهم, he said whoever memorizes the first 10 ayahs of Surah Kahf, Allah will protect him from the torment of the Dajjal. Another narration comes with regards to reading the Surah Kahf on Fridays. There is a very interesting book, actually, mashallah, your Imam Wahaj, mashallah, I had a short conversation with him, and he was mentioning this book as well. Maulana Sayyid Abu Hassan Ali al-Nadwi, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was the sheikh of our mashayikh, rahimahullah, he passed away in 1999. A very interesting, a very amazing figure. He wrote a number of books, many of which are translated into passable English. They're decent English. I know the DC translations oftentimes are they're just incompetently made. I don't know how to say it any better. And I actually angers me that people can sell those because it makes people think that our ulama were as incompetent as the translators, or the translators are just basically a bad name for the Mashayikh. But Mullah Hassan Ali, his translations are actually not so bad. They're passable. There's some improvements that could be done, but they're relatively alright. He has a short book about the tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf and exploring the idea of why is Surah Al-Kahf connected with protection from the Dajjal. And the kind of subtitle of the book is Faith versus Materialism. And it talks about how Surah Al-Kahf has these stories about where people chose faith over materialism and why that was a benefit. And this is what you're going to have to do on that day. You're going to have to remember that your iman is worth more than money. That's it. Because the people who are with the Dajjal are going to eat, and the people who are not with the Dajjal are going to starve that day. Your Muslim fundraisers are not going to make money that day unless you're sell out to the one-eyed master. It's just you have to make a choice, one or the other. That day, the two of them are going to go two separate ways. You cannot hold on to both of them. For the rest of the history of the Ummah, keep saying your prayers and making your dhikr and make tawbah to Allah Ta'ala. Allah make for all of us, mashallah, a life that is hayat tayyibatan, and make for all of us, afiyah in our deen and in our dunya. Once that line is crossed, you have to take one or the other. You cannot have both. But this is why it's important. And, this is why I read the Surah Kahf on Fridays as well. Remember, these things also don't become literally. The Surah Kahf is like Allah Ta'ala gave you a tool, or a sword that you can use in battle. If you do all those things that are Dajjali things in your lifestyle, but you say, well, I memorized the first time I did Surah Kahf. But everything else in your life is Dajjali. It's like somebody who says, okay, here, tomorrow there's going to be a battle, here's a sword. You can fight with it, defend yourself, defend your family. And then on the day of battle, you are sitting with your sword and you're like drunk. Is the sword going to help you? No. It's a tool Allah gave us. If you prepare for it, this tool will get you through the difficulty. Don't take it as some sort of pass, like, yeah, got the 10 ayahs and I'm going to watch TikTok videos for an hour. It doesn't work that way. I'm not saying it necessarily to be negative to people, but you should know. All of us should know. Because that's the only way you're going to get through these fitnas. Prerequisite of getting through them is to have knowledge, and then after that you have to struggle. If you don't have the knowledge, even your struggle is not going to be enough for you. وعن انس بن مالك رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الدجال منصور عينيه مكتوب بين عينيه كافر ثم تهجاها كاف را يقرأه كل مسلم. And Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu narrated radiallahu anhu that this Dajjal, one of his eyes will be completely faced, and it will be written between his eyes that he's a kafir. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he spelled the word out. He said kaf, fa, ra. And he said that every Muslim will be able to read it. And Allah, there's a lot of literacy in the Muslim world. People say, well, how is it that the people are going to be able to read it? It will be like a name brand, right? You could be completely literate, but when you see the golden arches, you don't have to read a sign. In fact, most of the branding nowadays, they're actually removing the names from stuff. You just recognize things from symbols, right? It will be like the brand of kufr. People will recognize it. And this is all the mercy of Allah. He could have had two eyes. He could have not had the brand of kufr on his face. But it's a mercy from Allah Ta'ala for those of us who like to fool ourselves, or for those of us who may not be the sharpest tool in the shed. It will not be something. This thing is not going to pass by us unnoticed. We'll be equipped with the knowledge that at that time, whoever wants to make the right choice will make the right choice. And عن عبيد الله بن عبد الله بن عتبة رضي الله عنه أن أبا سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال حدثنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حديثا طويلا عن الدجال فكان فيما حدثنا يأتي وهو محرم عليه أن يدخل نقاب المدينة فينتهي إلى بعض السباق التي تلي المدينة فيخرج إليه يومئذ رجل وخير الناس أو من خير الناس فيقول له أشهد أنك الدجال الذي حدثنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حديثه فيقول الدجال أرأيتكم قتلت هذا ثم أحييته أتشكون في الأمر فيقولون لا قال يقتله ثم يحييه فيقول حين يحييه والله ما كنت فيك قتل أشد بصيرة مني الآن قال فيريد الدجال أن يقتله فلا يسلط عليه قال أبو إسحاق يقال إن هذا الرجل هو خضر عليه السلام. So this hadith is the hadith similar to the hadith that passed from before, but the difference, other than a couple of things in the wording up and down, is what is Abu Ishaq from the Muhaddithin. They said that man who is going to be killed by the Dajjal is Khadr alayhi salam. And this is an opinion from amongst the opinions of the ulama. You don't have to, there are people who differ with it as well. وعن ابي سعيد الخدري رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يخرج الدجال فيتوجه قبله رجل من المؤمنين تلقاه المسالح يعني مسالح الدجال فيقولون له اين تعمل؟ فيقول اعمل الى هذا الذي خرج قال فيقولون له وما تؤمن بربنا؟ فيقول ما بربنا خفاء فيقول نقتلوه فيقول بعضهم لبعض أليس قد نهاكم ربكم أن تقتلوا أحدا دونه؟ قال فينطلقون به إلى الدجال فإذا رآه المؤمن قال يا أيها الناس هذا الدجال الذي ذكر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال فيأمره الدجال به فيشبه فيقول خذوه وشجوه فيسع ظهره وبطنه ضربا قال فيقول ما تؤمن به؟ قال فيقول أنت المسيح الكذاب قال فيؤمر به فيؤشر بالمنشار من مفرقه حتى يفرق بين رجليه قال ثم يمشي الدجال بين القطعتين ثم يقول له قم فيستوي قائما قال ثم يقول له أتؤمن به؟ فيقول ما ازددت إلا بصيرة قال ثم يقول يا أيها الناس إنه لا يفعل بعد بأحد من الناس قال فيأخذه الدجال ليذبحه فيجعل ما بين ركبتيه إلى ترقبته نحاسا فلا يستطيع إليه سبيلا قال فيؤخذ بيده ورجله فيقذف به فيحسب الناس أنما قذفه إلى النار وإنما ألقي في الجنة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هذا أعظم الناس شهادة عند رب العالمين. حديث Muslim. And it's the same story, the same hadith that we narrated, or story the same hadith that we narrated from Bukhari, but in more detail. That the Dajjal will emerge, and a man from the believers will go to meet him, and his lackeys will encounter him first, and they'll ask him, what are you trying to do here? And he'll say, I'm trying to go to this man who's emerged. And they'll say, what, you don't believe in our Lord? And he'll say, it's not a secret who our actual Lord is. And they'll say, kill him. And then some of them will say, our Lord forbade us from killing anybody except for in his presence. And so they'll take him to the Dajjal. And when this believer will see the Dajjal, he'll address the people and say, oh people, this is the Dajjal that was mentioned by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And but then the Dajjal will order the people to take him to stretch him, and so they'll stretch him from the hands to the feet to the point where it starts stretching between his sides, his back and his stomach, and between his sides, and they'll beat him, and they'll beat him, and they'll have him beat his back and his stomach, his abdomen, and he'll then ask, do you not believe me now? And he'll say, no, you are the Masih al-Kadhab, you're the fake Messiah, the one who lies and says that he's the Messiah. And it will be ordered that a saw be brought, and from the place, the mafraq is the place where the hair parts when you part your hair. From the mafraq all the way down his body, he'll be cut to the point where he'll be separated, his two legs will be separated. And the Dajjal will walk between the two halves. And then he'll say to him, Kum, meaning arise. And he will come back to life. And then he'll say to him, do you not believe in me? And he'll say, nothing has happened except for the clarity of my vision with regards to you has increased. And he'll say, oh people, he's not going to be able to kill anybody after me. And then the Dajjal will slaughter him. Or the Dajjal will take him in order to try to slaughter him. He won't be able to. His body will become like nuhas, like copper, right? Meaning it's like metal, like trying to use a nitric metal. And what's going to end up happening then is that you'll have to throw him into his fire. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the people will think like, oh look, you burned this guy alive, but really just cast him in the Jannah. Just cast him in the Jannah. And so some of the backdrop, the idea is what is that the hadith inshallah will get to it. But by this point, remember like yesterday we were talking about the Mahdi will come and fill the world with justice and amal and sunnah, etc. What happens is that the Dajjal, once he emerges, basically he's going to win victory after victory. And the Mahdi at that point, at the end of his tenure, is going to essentially, basically, be with the Muslims in order to keep them alive, to keep them in the game. But it's not going to be looking good. So at this point, people have taken over most of the world. And very few places other than the Haram Sharif will the believers be able to resist it. It will just be pockets of resistance. And this is going to happen in that context. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about this person that this man is the greatest of people in his martyrdom with the Lord of the world. Again, like yesterday we mentioned, these are not to be taken literally. Someone will say, well, it's, I thought that the companions, maqam is supposed to be higher than that of others. Oftentimes, this means that it will be from the greatest of them. It doesn't need to be like literally taken to be like literally true in every single thing, because no human being speaks literally all of the time. Even the Quran itself makes allowances for speech that's not to be taken literally. Why? Because human beings don't talk literally 100% of the time. And the Quran is supposed to be sent to people, and so it's sent in the speech that people will understand. That they're conversant in. It's not in a different style of expression. عن المغيرة بن شعبة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال ما سأل أحد من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الدجال أكثر مما سألت قال وما يوسفك منه إنه لا يضرك قال قلت يا رسول الله إنهم يقولون إن معه الطعام والأنهار قال هو أهون على الله من ذلك. So this hadith is from Al-Mughirah ibn Shu'bah, and said that he claimed that no one asked the Messenger of the Prophet about the Dajjal more than I asked him. And he said, what's your issue with him? He's not going to be able to harm you. And I said, O Messenger of Allah, they say that he'll have food and like rivers of water with him. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he doesn't need anything to Allah Ta'ala. And so the Ibn Battal in his commentary on Bukhari, he writes, يريد الله أعلم وهو أهون يفتن الناس به فيملكهم معيشة أرزاقهم حياة ورماتهم فتعرض بذلك فتنتهم فتبقى عليه ذلة العبودية بالتحويج إلى معالجة المعاش ومعاش وقد ملكه ما لا يضر به إلا من قضى الله له بالشقاء في أم الكتاب. The point is that the rest of the like he's gonna have all the food and all the water. This is one of the things I know about the companions of the Allah. They're very like real about everything. It's like that's gonna be a hard thing. Like with us, of course we're not gonna eat a big person. He's like that's not like it's really difficult. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just remember when that happens, it's the same Allah Ta'ala that gives you risk right now is gonna give you risk at that time. The Dajjal is in reality not going to choosing to feed you or to give you to drink. Allah Ta'ala at that time and at this time, none of that is going to have changed. So don't worry about that with regards to the Dajjal when that happens. Rather worry about that with Allah then and now. This is actually really important. It's a really important concept. People, when it comes to the end times, when it comes to living things, people get really freaked out about these things. And the fact of the matter is, the same Allah Ta'ala who's running everything. People get freaked out about black magic and about jinns. The same Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that protects you from like Democrats and Republicans and corporations and Russians and Chinese and this, all of these like the KKK and all of these things a person being afraid of. The same one who's going to also protect you from the Dajjal. The same one who's going to protect you from black magic and from jinns. And if someone is tested with all of those things, then it's the same Allah who's going to get you through that test. With those things as it is with things in the Bahir, in the seen world, the seen realm. And that's what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was trying to reassure Al-Mughirah ibn Shu'bah about, that he isn't actually a god. He's just another thing like such in life that you have to be concerned about. He's another thing you have to be concerned about. The reason it's going to like creep people out a lot is because it's so like khalq. It's like so khalqul 'ada is the word we use when something in reality happens that is not normal. Okay? So a miracle, a mu'jiza, is khalqul 'ada that's given to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in order to prove his nubuwwah. So if Allah allows something to happen that's like against the normal laws of the natural world, That comes when it's given of the normal way, the natural laws. When it's given to Nabi, when he's trying to prove to his people that he's sent by Allah, then it's called a miracle. The reason the Dajjal is going to creep, so everyone loves miracles. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made ishara towards the moon. Mushrikeen and the believers all knew that he came with the haqq, makes you feel good, right? Because Allah is with the believers, makes you feel good, right? So people think are concerned at that time about this particular issue. When the khalq happens with the kafir, with Fir'aun, or when the khalq happens with the Dajjal, it's scary. Why? Because you see what is something that's a show of power. But the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is he saying here? He's saying the same power, when it happens in one case, the same power happens in the same case. In the other case, most of them, they come from Allah Ta'ala. You don't need to be scared any more from one than you need to be from the other. Rather, keep your ta'ala, you'll benefit from both of them, inshallah. وعن ابن عباس سمعان الكلابي رضي الله تعالى عنه قال ذكر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الدجال فقال إن يخرج وأنا فيكم فأنا حجيج دونكم وإن يخرج عفوا ولست فيكم فالرب حجيج نفسه والله خليفتي على كل مسلم فمن أدركهم منكم فليفعل فواتح سورة كهف فإنها جواركم من فتنته قلنا وما لبثوا في الأرض قال 40 يوما يوم كسنة ويوم كشهر ويوم كجمعة وسائر أيامه كأيامكم فقلنا يا رسول الله هذا اليوم الذي كسنة تكفينا فيها صلاة يوم وليلة قال لا أقدر له ينزل عيسى بن مريم عند المنارة البيضاء الشرقية دمشق فيدركه عند باب لد فيقتله. So here's another very interesting thing about the Dajjal and how things are going to, like, timeline, how it's going to unfold. He said that he mentioned the Dajjal to his people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, if the Dajjal arrives and is still alive, so I'll face him alone on your behalf. This is the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how Allah made his heart so beautiful that he said, I'll face him on your behalf. You guys don't have to worry about it. I'll take him on. He said that if he comes up when I'm not here anymore, then every man is going to have to contend for himself. He's going to have to face him on his own. And Wallahu khalifati ala kulli muslim, this is the dua for us, and it should give all of us reassurance that anyone who has iman inside their heart, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even in that case, I leave Allah behind to protect every Muslim for my sake. This is the dua, and Allah answers this dua sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allah's still with you, like I leave you in the care of Allah Ta'ala to protect you. And this is a beautiful utterance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It gives reassurance to all of us. And then he said that whoever meets him, that person, let him read the 10 ayahs, first 10 ayahs of Surah Al-Kahf, because it will protect you from his fitna. There'll be something in those 10 ayahs, whether it's the meaning or whether it's a ghaibi protection that happens from reading them. I can't say, but there's something in those 10 ayahs that will protect you from the extremity of the torment that comes with it. And so, Nawas ibn Sam'an radiallahu anhu said, we asked him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how long will he be here? How long is this fitna going to last? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said 40 days. He said he'll be here for 40 days. However, the first day he's going to be here is going to be as long as a year. And the second day is going to be as long as a month. And the third day is going to be as long as a week. And then all the rest of the 40 days are going to be like normal days. This is from the many instances of the natural laws of the world being torn up at the time of his coming. This is one of the khawarij is going to do something. Like when people will know something special about this guy. We also say something special about him, but like especially bad. But everyone's going to know something special about this guy. Why? Because since he came, like this thing is happening with time. But the day is like lasting a year. And again, you got a lot of the companions of Allah. If it was us, we'd be like, well, what about the basketball court? What did they ask? They said, what about the salah? We only have to pray 5 prayers in that 1 year. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said no. Rather calculate it out when 24 hours pass, pray your prayers at the prayer times that are going to be there at that time. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Looks like Muslim Pro or whatever the app that was delegated to the government. That's probably going to be not the app or whatever, but we all know, okay, like funders around this time, the voters around this time. But we know at least voters not going to change, inshallah. I'm pretty sure that the dollar will keep being like savings time. It kind of seems like in sync with the style, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, he said that you calculate the prayer times and keep praying during that time. But it's beautiful. They asked about the salah. The first thing they asked about was what? Was about the salah. He said that these 40 days will last until Sayyidina Isa ibn Maryam comes down. It comes down at the Manarat al-Bayda, at the white, the eastern white minaret of Damascus. And then he will catch up to pursue the Dajjal and catch up with him at Lud. Lud is an actual place. You know where Lud is? It's the Tel Aviv airport. It's literally Lod International Airport, and there's at least he's not going to have a hard time finding a place that there's no airport ready for him, right? The Tel Aviv airport. A person wonders about these things. They really are like astonishing. A person wonders how would for probably 1,400 years, 1,350 years, people wonder like Lud is just like a village in Palestine where people go to Jonah or whatever, right? Like but now that we look at all of this stuff, we're like, oh my good Lord, like what's going on here? It's the Tel Aviv airport. And this was pointed out. By the Sheikh Muhammad Hassan al-Bedou, who's one of the ulama of Mauritania, in preparation for this material. I tried to listen to what the different ulama said about these hadith, and he mentioned that, and I was like, it just became very real and very creepy for me. Allah help us all, inshallah. Same Allah helps us get through today. Help us on that day as well. That it gets very creepy. And then finally, this is the last hadith, inshallah, before we have a 15-minute break, 10-minute break. What time is Asr? 4 o'clock? Okay. 4:20? 4:30? Okay. So we'll take a 10-minute break, inshallah. And this is the help of Allah, the method of Allah, which is what? The Mahdi will be with the Ummah, alayhi salam. Through the beginning of the fitna of the Dajjal, if you will, pass away after Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam comes, but before the Dajjal is killed. The Ummah will not be without guidance, it will not be without method, and it will not be without leadership. We kind of leadership is something that we haven't really been doing so well lately. But that Allah has already made design that we've failed to be able to do that for some time, and maybe we'll keep failing for some time. But that part Allah has made there, so don't worry, when you go through that, it's already taken care of. So Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will be the one who Allah brings to kill the Dajjal, and that's going to be in the last hour of our presentation, inshallah, after the break. And this is also Bushra. It's the Bishara of the Madad of Allah Ta'ala for Sunnah, for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be praised and thanked. عن عمران بن حسين رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزال طائفة من أمتي يقاتلون على الحق ظاهرين على من ناوأهم حتى يقاتل آخرهم المسيح الدجال. It's a hadith of Abu Dawud. There's some form of this hadith that's in the Sahihain as well, but Abu Dawud, the particular thing about this narration that's mentioned is that the Dajjal mentioned it. That the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would repeat, he would say there's always going to be a group of people, no matter how bad things get. As we read the news, look what's happening with our brothers and sisters in Turkestan, or with our brothers and sisters in Turkestan and others other than them in China and different parts of China. Look what's happening with our brothers and sisters in Kashmir, the entire place under military occupation. And look what's happening with our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And the Kashmiri occupation actually hires Israeli consultants. The whole thing is a confused mess. This country being bombed, that country being bombed, this country, look what happened to Sham, look what's happening to Sham, look what's happening to Yemen, what's happening to Iraq, what's happening in all of these places. The person gets a little bit down. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave a great bishara, a glad tidings to this ummah, which is that no matter how up or down it looks, there'll always be a group of the people from this ummah that will fight for the sake of the haqq, for the sake of what's right, and Allah Ta'ala will give them victory. Their enemies will never have upper hand over them to the point where they have to stay quiet. There's no such people like this in the entire ummah. That these people will be protected when one of them leaves a skirt, Allah will give this maqam to another one. It's a similar concept to the concept of the Abdallah we mentioned yesterday from the hadith of Abu Dawud. Except that those will never get the upper hand over them. They'll never be able to completely obliterate them or destroy them. And this will be the case until the people from the last part of my ummah will fight to Masih al-Dajjal. So he's not going to be able to wipe people out. This is Bishara, that don't let Fox News and BBC, they're all the same. Fox News England is what I call it. They're all mainstream media. They're all the same. If you want to see, if you want to see what the agenda is, always the person who puts the quarter in the jukebox, it's their favorite song that's playing, not ours. So okay, if you need to get some information from it, that's up to you. That's fine. But don't let them get you down. Make it look like that's it. Like tomorrow, they're just going to be telling genders, and everyone's going to forget about Tarawih or what's going on. Yes, if you and me join the Dajjal, that's our bad because we knew better. If you and me drink Kool-Aid of all of this propaganda, that's our bad because we knew better. Rather, mashallah, be a man. Stand up and know that the method of the help of Allah Ta'ala is with the person who struggles for what's right. The method of Allah Ta'ala is with the one who struggles for what's right. And there's nothing extremist or violent about that. It doesn't always mean violence. Sometimes, mashallah, they can be all broken, a little bit I said, come on, man, pull your bootstraps up together. Get a haircut, get a job, get an apartment. It'll happen. There are people dumber than you, uglier than you who got married from before. You'll also get married just like they did before. When I say be a man, this includes our sisters and said, okay, it's not an expression that fits with the age that we live in. But the point is, have some confidence in yourself that you're doing what's right, even if you're a sister. Have some confidence in yourself that if your struggle is righteous, even if difficulty is there in the middle, Allah loves the person who struggles for that which is right, and Allah, He gives His method, He gives His help to such people. Never throw in the towel. We don't throw in the towel. Whether it's your family, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your business, whether it's your parents, whether it's your masjid, whether it's your own teaching, whether it's your, whatever work that you're doing with people, everyone serves Allah in a different way. Some person, it's salat in the middle of the night. Some person, it's giving charity. Some person, it's helping, tutor or mentor people. Some people, it's taking care of their own family. Some people, it's all of the above. And at some point, when someone threatens their life, or threatens their family, threatens their home, it includes violence. Don't escalate to that point if it doesn't need to escalate. But sometimes it's not your choice. People bring a fight to your door. It's their violent one. At that point, what is it, right? Like Malcolm X, increasing maqam. He said Islam teaches us to be good to everybody, and if somebody lays a hand on you, like with the intent of violence, you send them to the cemetery. This is what a wonderful religion that is.
It's a paraphrase, it's not exact quote, but you can find this, and it's reasonable. Every reasonable person, he says the only, the last part of it is that nobody would ever dislike a religion like that, except for the wolf who is like planning to eat you. Because he doesn't want the sheep to the ram to resist. Because the ram, if it kicks the wolf in the face, the wolf is going to be out of commission. It might die. It might have a really bad week. It might have a really bad month. No one's going to tell you otherwise than that. So have some himma inside of you. We're not just because you have himma and you want to struggle and succeed. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. Rather, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving us reassurance that the person who struggles for Allah's sake, Allah's madad is with him. Allah's madad is with him. There's a type of inviolability in that kayfiyah, in that struggle that is inspiring, that Allah is pleased with. Inshallah, so we'll adjourn, and then the last part will be about the nuzul of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. وصلى الله تعالى على رسول سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. Inshallah, people can take it's 3:30. So let's say 3:45. Inshallah, we come back and we'll go through as much of the presentation as we can. And if there's something left over, inshallah, we'll come back after the Salat al-Asr. For those of you who wish to do so, and we'll finish it. And inshallah, that's the plan. Break for me too, you know. Nothing good. Brother? What's going on? How was it? Are you practicing medicine? Are you a private woman? Yeah, keep my mother. I got this meeting. The fight was for 8:30 or something. And American Airlines amplified the 6:30 trying to see if I can get the no, the airline always do it. Just find different ways. But it's on HM at RIBAC.org. RIBAC.org. Shafi? Shafi? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Inshallah, we'll go ahead and read the last module of the presentation. This is the one I put the most work into. I feel bad that because of certain timing issues, that it's the one that we have the least amount of time for. Very special. It's a very special presentation that has to do with more than what the topic is at face value. And so before we go ahead and jump into the presentation, the importance of this topic is connected with a number of points of aqidah that every Muslim has to believe whether or not they see the end days. And it has to do also with the fitna of a group that emerged in the Indian subcontinent in the era of British colonialism, where a man from what's now the eastern part of Punjab claimed that he was a Nabi, and he basically, like a mini Dajjal play, he more or less compromised on a number of issues of Deen in order to kind of housebreak it, to make it more oriented, more friendly, to make it more like colonial friendly. He used to actively tell people that resisting the British is haram and struggle against it is haram. And interestingly enough, that group is still around. They probably have a place of worship in this city as well. They're very active and they're very loud in their presentation of their identity, although they don't really have a whole lot of content to offer people. But they have a very outsized impact. And they impact in ways that people don't really realize. One is that they're big pushers of this whole, live your life, I live mine, and in turning Islam into a quasi-ethnic identity instead of an actual religion based on beliefs. And their kufr is clear because they believe in a prophet after the Prophet ﷺ, and they are one of two major groups that are of relevance to this road in this time. There is an individual by the name of Qasim Rashid who actually ran from the community, who actually ran for Congress. I think I'm probably like awesome. But he oftentimes is called by news media outlets to represent Islam. He's not Muslim, and oftentimes Muslims will amplify the content he puts out because he's a big Islamophobia activist, anti-Islamophobia activist or whatever. I'm not a big fan of this term Islamophobia. There's a word for that concept that's needed to our tradition. What is it piggybacking off of? What is the phobia what is the identity phobia for Islamophobia? Right? Like if you're like, you don't like Jews, we don't have any special disdain for one type of non-believer over another. We treat people generally treat people with courtesy, with respect, even if we disagree with their religious beliefs, right? We call it anti-Semitism, we don't call it Judeophobia or whatever, right? So who's the phobia crew? It's homophobia, it's homosexuality, right? So I always was uncomfortable with this term, and it is what it is. I can't really punch my fist in the thing about it. But Islamophobia is made in the Islamophobia industry for people who don't want to be told that eating McDonald's is haram, and people who don't want to be told you have to pray 5 times a day, people who don't want to be told that you can't go to your prom in high school, people who don't want to be told all of these things. This is a way that they can identify with Islam that's like completely Sharia optional. It's like, oh, someone said bad about Muslims, we're going to gang up and go after that guy or go after that woman. And they're remarkably ineffective at doing that. But even if they were effective at doing that, there's a cast of people who lust that they'll yell and scream and pull down another person, sometimes rightfully, but they'll yell and scream and pull down another person, but they don't love Islam enough to actually pray 5 times a day. They don't love Islam enough to actually crack open the Mus'haf and read or a surah, or they don't love Islam enough to actually practice any of it. That they have no need for or want. Maybe they'll celebrate Eid or whatever, and they don't like to work at maximum. People are pushing that. They're pushing that form of Islam, which is a very Dajjal-friendly, Dajjal-philic form of Islam. What's the other group other than them? Okay, so for example, there's a big a big what to do about an individual who won an Academy Award. He's an African-American actor won an Academy Award. So, oh, this was the first one to win an Academy Award. His name is Mahershala Ali, and he played a gay drug dealer. And all of a sudden, all of the big kind of leaders of American Islam are like, oh, look how proud we are of this person. People get invited to conventions to speak and all these other things, right? oh look, we're so proud and Muslim and proud and black and Muslim and proud and this and that and the other thing. And then black Muslims have a lot to be proud of. It's like where did their outfit go? Like look, like the Daisy got won an Academy Award for playing like a Quickie Mart owner who happens to be a pedophile. A Palestinian actor wins for beat terrorist number 13 in like whatever, the Patriot, Return of the Patriot or something like that. You're a sellout. You're basically just playing a trope, you're a sellout. And on top of that, you're not even Muslim. And when you point that out, oh look, you're this anti-black sentiment in the Muslim community. Yeah, look at that. If you want to know how I can't speak about other ethnicities, I can speak about my own. If you want to see how our ulama take to people who make a false claim of prophethood, come to our lands and see how they speak about. If you want to cuss in the madrasa, you'll usually get shut down. The only pass you'll get in the madrasa is that if you curse this man who claimed he was a nabi and he's not a nabi, you'll see instead of Allah becoming angry with you, you'll see a smile on their face. Because cuss words were created by Allah for people like this. And then the other group is what? The other group is the group that we have in the United States of America. I got a lot of flack for this when I say it, and I'm going to say why, because it's not giving flack for it is going to look bad on the Day of Judgment, and saying the truth about this matter is going to look good on the Day of Judgment. Is this nation of Islam, Elijah Poole, who misappropriated the name of our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Interestingly enough, he claimed to be a prophet as well. His complete Sharia was even more, like housebroken than the other one that we mentioned from before. He doesn't believe in a bodily resurrection or an afterlife. He doesn't believe in. Interestingly, he believes that white people are the devil. And I say, well, some white people are the devil, but some black people are the devil, and some brown people are the devil. We don't believe that, And one of the most ridiculous and bizarre claims that he made was that God appeared to me in the form of a man. And who is this man? His name is Farid Muhammad, and literally they call him Master Farad. It's like F-A-R-A-D, but it sounds like someone saying Master Farad. And who is Master Farad? Some people have done that. Who is this guy? A, he's obviously white. If you look at one picture of him, he's obviously white. Which, again, none of this was supposed to make sense, right? That the Dajjal himself has like one eye out and his kufr written on his forehead, right? A, he's obviously white. So that doesn't even make any sense. But like, whatever. B, the most in-depth tahqiq I've seen of anybody of who is this person, because he's actually a person who existed. And he actually influenced. Elijah Poole was not the only person he influenced. He had influence on a number of other African American religious movements. One of them was also a quasi-Islamic noble, Drew Ali or whatever. And then the other, but he just didn't make it as far as Elijah Poole did. And the two of them are actually Christian movements as well. There's a whole technique of it. Who is Master Farad? The best explanation I've met is that he's a Qadiani Desi who came to America, lived for some time, got in trouble with the law, and got deported and left. So one of the core beliefs of this Qadiani movement from the Indian subcontinent is that obviously that they believe their guys are many after the Prophet ﷺ, and many of them have learned to like weasel about that. They'll lie about it. They'll literally say, "Oh, we don't believe he's a Nabi. We believe he's a great Mujaddid, and we believe that he's the reincarnation of Isa alayhi salam. We believe he's the Mahdi." There are groups amongst them that will like be two-faced about this, and they'll say, "Oh, see, you can't say we're not Muslims." One of their core beliefs also, which is what has to do with this, the Aqidah, whether we see any of these days happen or not, this is very direct relevance for us, making sense of the deen that we have in the time that we live, is that their belief is that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam has died, and that he's. And so from our Mashayikh, Mullah Anwar Shah, who we mentioned in the khutbah, who was a Hafiz al-Hadith, rahimahullah ta'ala, he compiled a book called At-Tasrih Bima Tawatara Fi Nuzul al-Masih. He compiled a book in which he basically the claim is made, which was made in the books of Aqidah from before, by the way. That not believing in the return of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and not believing that he's alive is that it's kufr. But everyone accepted it, nobody had a reason to not accept it. So he wrote this book essentially to say that even if these people speak out of the side of their mouth, their guy who claims very well really claim he's a prophet, they speak out of the side of their mouth and they say, well, we don't believe he's a prophet, we just believe he's a great Mujaddid and a great renewer of the faith. Then this second thing is also open kufr, to say that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is dead. What's the problem? If he claims that he's the reincarnation of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, but there's actually a real Sayyidina Isa who came and is described in hadith, and it kind of like puts a cramp in his da'wah. So there, masail, issues of fiqh, they're usually proven that are taken for granted. They're usually proven by 1, 2, 3, 4. Very rarely will you have something 5, 7 hadiths that prove that legal issue. Very rarely. Most of them are 1 or 2 hadiths that basically are the proofs for that. The discussions revolve around. he compiled a collection of 75 hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which mentioned the return of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, and in the middle of that they mentioned the description of him in a remarkable and vivid amount of detail, some of which is actually probably more detailed than what we find in the Gospels. And so it's from that book that I put this presentation together, very painstakingly. And this was my hope, is that in particular this part of the presentation, inshallah, we'll work more on the rest of it as well. But nobody pays you to do any of these things, and they take a lot of time. And still, you come up, there's mistakes and things and whatever. You teach it, you pick them out or whatever. So they're all works in progress. But this module of the presentation in particular, my hope is that this is something I can present in the court of Allah Ta'ala in defense of the Khatam Nubuwwah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that Allah gave us such a favor. Allah Ta'ala really such a favor, gave us such a gift, really owe him so badly for having sent us the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That I hope to present this in the court of Allah Ta'ala, that this was my service in showing how much we are thankful for this gift. That any joker who comes afterward and tries to lie about the Nubuwwah, lie about Nubuwwah, or lie about the Nubuwwah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that this is something that I said. So please, inshallah, listen to the presentation carefully, inshallah, and Allah Ta'ala is Mubarak. The first thing we'll say is that the sense of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the word Christ just means Messiah in Greek. There's no objection of using this term. Established by what's called tawatur. Tawatur means not only is it Sahih Hadith, but it's Sahih Hadith to the point that it's mentioned by so many disparate sources that they couldn't have gotten together and collaborated by conspiracy in order to make it up. And it's something that is considered like such common knowledge that you don't have to quote it. You don't have to quote a source when you mention it. And people will then contend with that, so first we should deal with this issue. The descent of Christ, our Master Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam, before the end times is an established tenet of the creed of the Muslims, which is not subject to debate. Not only is it mentioned by Imam Tahawi in his creed explicitly as being one of the portents of the end of times, it is mentioned unambiguously in the Quran as well as referenced in several places. It is further corroborated by a number of rigorously authenticated hadith with their own independent chains of narration, the number of which exceeds the possibility of error, forgetfulness, or fabrication. So first we'll look at the ayat of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah was said in the book, لما ضربت مريم مثلا إذا قومك منه يصدون وقالوا آلهتنا خير أم هو ما ضربوه لك إلا جدلا بل هم قوم خصمون إن هو إلا عبد أنعمنا عليه وجعلناه مثلا لبني إسرائيل ولو نشاء لجعلنا منكم ملائكة في الأرض يخلفون وإنه لعلم للساعة فلا تمترون بها واتبعون هذا الصراط المستقيم. And so this ayah, the translation of which is Allah Ta'ala then says to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and when the son of Mary alayhi salam was put forth as an example, people raised an uproar and they said, are our gods better or is he? I mean, why are you revering this person? He's not, and this is not, do you love all the non-Arabs more than you, this is Jahiliyyah, right? The logic of you love all of them more than you love even the religion of your own people. Allah Ta'ala says they didn't mention him except for in dogmatic obstinacy. They're just being stubborn. They are not but a people marred in footless squabbling. Isa alayhi salam is not but a slave upon whom we bestowed blessing, and whom we made an example for the children of Israel. Had we wished, we would have given the earth to the angels in succession after your destruction. We don't have any need for you. Say to them that Isa alayhi salam is not but a sign of the last hour. So bicker not you about it, follow me, this is the straight path. So the qira'at that's there in the qira'at mutadawila is وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. Knowing about him is from the knowledge of the hour. But this ayah is translated, one of the qira'at that's translated by Tawatur, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. This is a big claim to say that an ayah can be read a different way, so I quoted in the footnotes both the Arabic and English. From Qurtubi that Ibn Abbas narrates, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to the Quraysh, O gathering of Quraysh, there is no good in anyone who you worship other than Allah. They said, don't you claim Isa alayhi salam was a slave, prophet, and a righteous slave? If he was as you claim, then indeed he was worshipped other than Allah. Which is one of the points I was trying to make yesterday as well. They know that the point of what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says to idols. Now they're just trying to have a little quick gotcha on a technicality, And so that's what they're just trying to they're just being stubborn with you. And so this is the explanation of the revelation of this ayah. And then Allah Most High revealed the ayah, the verses, and when the son of Mary was put forth as an example, your people raised uproarious laughter. And then Qurtubi is quoted in Arabic in the footnote above it, in the Arabic above it, which we don't have time to go through the entire footnote, but the point is that it's not my opinion. Qurtubi is both Muhaddith and Faqih, and he's one of the canonical compilers of the tafsir of the Quran. If you want to disagree, you're disagreeing with him, you're not disagreeing with me. I have no opinion in anything. I'm saying that this is an authority in the subject. We know that he's a sign of the last day, which means if he's a sign of the last day or the last hour, then could he have died like Qadiani say? No. Be buried in Kashmir or whatever kind of weird nonsense that they had. By the way, there are people, mashallah, in the Muslim community who get invited to speak about deen who also push this for reasons other than what the Qadiani say. But this is completely like denying something that's in the Quran. Mufti Shafir, the former, his forward to the Sheikh's compilation, which is the book that we before the Tasriyah, of the various hadith on the subject of the descent of Christ before the end of time, alayhi salam, provides a quote from Ibn Kathir, Ibn Hajar, and Al-Alusi, all of whom are mufassirun, all of whom are big mufassirun of the Quran, basically corroborating the same concept that the descent of Islam before the end of time is not an issue of the common knowledge part B. The great Syrian Halabi Muhammad of Hadith in the past century, Sheikh Abdul Fattah al-Ghudda, may Allah immerse him in mercy, and his footnotes on his edition of Mufti Shafi's words. So that mashallah, Sheikh Abdul Fattah actually wrote the best aspect of the Tasriyah is what he put forth. He gave footnotes in his critique of his work, and he asks about this Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, who is probably the most famous of the compilers of tafsir. Ibn Atiyah al-Ghalnati, from whom the renowned Mufassir Abu Hayyan Andalusi put together his Bahr al-Muhit, who concurs and in this matter. He quotes the Shaykh, saying that this is common knowledge, and he also says, I concur with what my Shaykh said. Safari and Shokani, Muhammad bin Ja'far al-Kitani, all these three names are all affiliate scholars. They're not Hanafis. The point is that this is not a fifth issue that are you this man or that man, or are you from India, Pakistan. This is an issue of people who disagree about a lot of stuff very stridently. They'll agree on this one thing. And then Sheikh Abdul Fattah also then quotes his own Sheikh Muhammad Sa'ad al-Khudri, who was just an amazing muhaddith, one of the last. He was an adjunct to the last Sheikh of Islam of the Ottoman Empire, and a scholar of the likes of which the Ummah has stopped embracing. But just a very amazing scholar. Worthy of special note, as you mentioned of Abu Walid ibn Rushd. Uqbi al-Washtani mentions in his commentary on Sahih Muslim the tawatur with regards to the descent of Isa alayhi salam. So Ibn Rushd was the Qadi of Qurtuba at some point, and the Uqbi mentions that he also mentioned that this is an issue of tawatur. If you don't believe it, you're not Muslim, basically. Sheikh Abdul Fattah mentions scholars who have authored independent works on the topic of the Aqidah of the descent of Christ alayhi salam. Muhammad Zahid al-Qadri, Abdullah bin Siddiq al-Ghumari, Muhammad Habibullah Shinqiti, who was one of the Mauritanian scholar who was a great muhaddith and a great teacher in Al-Azhar al-Sharif, indeed, kind of before it was gutted by the national system. Although there's still there, I don't mean to say that to deny that fact. Shawkani made a few. Many amongst those works is the book which edited and commented upon. These were mentioned with Shafi's compilation of the hadith on the topic from his own Shaykh Asil al-Fadlan Amr Shah Kashmiri rahimahullah ta'ala, entitled Tasrih bi Fatawata bin Nuzul al-Masih. Sheikh Abdul Fattah's edition and comments on the original work together form an indispensable resource on the topic. The book should be published. The book should be translated and published. It's a project for people, and the students of knowledge who read it should sit and read the book. May Allah immerse them all in His mercy. Thus, it's not as kufr in the abstract sense, opening the door of a person's Islam who holds such a belief. There are several books in Islam. From the great living ulama Mauritanian Sheikh Muhammad Hassan al-Baddad, amongst others, mentioned that a person who is learned and aware of the compelling nature of all these proofs of the descent of Christ in the end of time has disbelief as a general matter of fact. Of course, for fatwa pronouncing anathema on a particular individual, such matters should be raised to an authoritative local scholar, locally indulged in haphazardly. The point is what? If someone says that, well, I believe Christ died because I heard on news by Isa, yeah, I'll believe that. Because maybe they haven't heard the proofs. When a person commits kufr, the reason they're committing kufr is if someone made a sacrifice out of an idol, and you ask them, you have to ask them why. If they say, well, because I thought that, this Iran blue space alien is like a god, then obviously that's kufr. If you ask them why, and they say, well, I did it because someone was standing behind me with a gun in my head and said, if you don't do it, I'm going to kill you. Obviously, it's not kufr. These are two extreme examples, and there's a lot of things in the middle that the Mufti looks at. But the point is, after knowing all of these things and all of the things notwithstanding, to believe this thing is not compatible with faith in Islam. And I'm pointing this out as well. There's a translation and commentary on the Quran. It's very popular. We have it in many massages. The translation in English is actually a decent translation. One is authored by Qadiani by the name of Muhammad Ali Lahori, who's not to be confused with Mullah Ahmad Ali Lahori by any stretch. But it's actually a relatively decent translation in terms of the English. But this one issue completely prejudices it, and you'll find it in many massages. You'll find it in many massages which should be taken out of the version. Second one is that of Muhammad. Has a number of editions, but the newest edition, which was published and distributed, it's like kind of gray and black edition with like a diagonal calligraphy on it. And it's quite possible it's in this message as well. And he wasn't a Qadiani by any stretch, inshallah, with good opinion. I think that this was a mistake of his. He wasn't a muhaddith or whatever. Maybe he wasn't aware of this thing. And but for that reason, I'm not a fan of people keeping it to their masajid, lest somebody would be misguided about this. But it's definitely from the mistakes. It's a very severe error in work. And people make errors. And inshallah, he didn't do it on purpose or all these things. He wasn't a muhaddith, this is for sure. But his Arabic was good, and his English was good. He was a convert, Austrian Jewish convert to Islam. His English was impeccable, and he wrote a number of praiseworthy works in defense of Islam in the English language. But this is a severe defect in that work of his. And so, we go through a survey because we can't read through all 75 hadiths. We don't have time. The Asr Islam is going to be in 19 minutes. But a survey of the things that are mentioned in that book and the different narrations are what? There are that over 100 different attributes of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam that describe him when he'll come back, are mentioned in those ahadith, those 75 ahadith, which is a lot. If you ask a Christian to tell you 100 different attributes of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, they probably couldn't do it. You might be able to pull them from the Gospels, but it's something that's it's impressive at any rate. These include but are not limited to his name, his titles, his lineage, his physical attributes, where he will descend, when he will descend, how he will descend, who will be present at the time, how will he contend with the Dajjal, how will he contend with the Ya'juj and Ma'juj, his Hajj, his Ihram, his visiting the noble maqam of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and how he'll say salam, his revocation of the jizya for the people of the book, his marriage to a woman of the tribe of Judah, his bearing of children, the length of his life, the name and the condition of his successor, his place of burial. But there's, in the Hujra al-Barakah, there's a place saved for Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam to be buried with Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Shaykh, which is a great honor for the Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, and it's a great honor for Sunnah as well. And a number of attributes. It's funny because whenever the Jehovah's Witnesses would knock at the door of our house, and they'd come, are you ready? He said, we already have a maqam for Medina Munawwara. So the more interesting amongst them is the mention that his breath will have such an effect in it that whichever disbelievers touched by it, that person will die. Which is really interesting, right? Muhammad al-Tamli has a book on Fasi Isa. Right? Someone thinks that's a really interesting sounding name. The point of it is what? It's a rub against it. It's a refutation against the different types of materialism and atheism and modernity. That Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, there's going to be an effect in his breath alone, that when it touches a kafir, that it will take the life from him. The effect will be in every direction as far as I can see. Of course, not all of these attributes individually form a point of creed for the Muslims. Rather, the scholars may debate each one of the hadith one by one, but the aggregate of the hadith bear in common the fact that they necessitate that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will come in times. Thus, all having some part in verifying the claim of tawatur, as such a claim in light of such evidence can only be denied by a person dogmatically bent on antagonism of the issue. This brings out a kind of issue in hadith, which is one of the many kind of messed up things that happened in the snafu yesterday, which was what? There's a hadith which is sahih li dhatihi, there's a hadith which is sahih li ghayrihi. There's a hadith that has a chain of narration which itself is impeccable. There are certain hadith, though, they have narrators in them that someone may question. But they have so many different chains of narrators that are different than one another, that when you put it in aggregate, it's very difficult to believe that someone is lying. Like imagine the slot is at 4:30, so we'll go until 4:25. If we need more time than that, then they're welcome to excuse themselves before, inshallah. And then after the salam, and then it comes straight back. Whoever's here is here, we'll finish the presentation, inshallah. Yes. Presentation, inshallah. So the point is that, for example, just say there's an event witnessed by 40 people, every single one of them is alive. Which is like a lot of like criminal, criminal things. When criminals witness something, it doesn't mean that you can't glean useful information about what happened. The system of narrating hadith has so much scrutiny that if you were to apply that scrutiny to, like, for example, the veracity of the Mueller report, like there would be very little useful information in it. It's a very high degree of scrutiny. But the point is this, is that even in the individual chain of narration, someone might be able to get up and say, well, I saw a YouTube video and so-and-so said that this one entity this week. But if you have 40 witnesses to a crime, all of them themselves are criminals, what will the police do? They'll take everybody into a separate room, and they'll ask them all sorts of details about what happened. And they'll get to them before they can all meet together and talk with one another. And they'll ask them various details about the crime. And the things that all of them agree upon, it's highly unlikely that they'll randomly all agree on something, and it's still false. This is the point. You have 75 chains of narration. Some of them are like in lands where one person never met the other one. You can say this hadith is false, that hadith is false, but the fact is the common thread of all of them is that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will come back before the end of time. This is very, very unlikely that this is something that they could have got together and fabricated. This is the point. That if a person shows you, well, this one hadith is weak because I saw it on YouTube, you can say, well, even if that one hadith is weak, an aggregate of 75 hadiths is not weak. There's a term for this in the craft of hadith. This is sahih al-hadith. It's a sahih hadith, not in and of itself, but when taken into consideration with the other narration on the topic. So the first thing we have to prove as well is that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam did not die nor was he crucified, which is very explicitly mentioned in the Quran. I have no idea why there are people who are allowed in the Masajid contravene this. Or why they get hired in major institutions like quote-unquote Muslim colleges in America. We consider Muslims, but whatever. وقولهم إن قتل المسيح عيسى ابن مريم رسول الله وما قتلوه وما صلبوه ولكن شبه لهم وإن الذين اختلفوا فيه لفي شك منه ما لهم به من علم إلا اتباع الظن وما قتلوه يقينا بل رفعه الله إليه وكان الله عزيزا حكيما. Allah Ta'ala mentions from the crimes of Banu Israel, they're saying indeed we killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah alayhi salam. Allah Ta'ala says they did not kill him nor did they crucify him. Rather, it was made to seem to them so. Indeed, those who differ upon it themselves are in doubt over it. They have no certainty about it. Rather, they are being led by conjecture, and they certainly did not kill him. Allah then repeats, he says certainly they did not kill him. Rather, Allah raised him up to himself, and Allah is mighty and wise. It's interesting, Bart Ehrman, who is one of the leading scholars in academia with regards to what they call the New Testament, has very little study about Islam, very little interest about Islam. One interesting thing is some of the things that he says, because he says that evangelical Christians being a classic Muslim, he gets very angry when they say that. I'm not a Muslim, I don't care about any of that, I never read the Quran, like this is all based on the evidence I'm giving you. He's a very interesting guy. He himself mentions, actually, interestingly enough, that in the law of Banu Israel, being killed by being hung from a tree is actually considered a bad. It's bad. It's in the Adam of the Buddha, basically. This is actually a proof that the Jews, when they were being proselytized by the early Christians, that were not present, didn't know who Isa alayhi salam was, but they went to different places and they tried to say, well, this is the Messiah that came, that was foretold in the Torah and in the Old Testament and the Tanakh. They say, well, that's not possible because just the fact that he comes from a tree means he can't be the Messiah. The fact that he was killed can't be the Messiah, because the Messiah is supposed to do all of these things and keep the believer. It's a great proof that they have against it. So I found that very interesting. It's not compatible with your rationality to think that he passed away and that he's a Nabi and he passed away. Definitely, if he can't be a Nabi, then how is he going to be God? Reality God. Now, if I can speak on a word in this entire ayah, or set of ayah that we're going to mention right now, which is the word of tawakki. The word tawakki can mean to take something, but it can also metaphorically mean death. That what this is a proof that Allah, that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam died. We mentioned this principle yesterday. فلا تدبرون القرآن. This ayah of the Quran itself, وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. Do they not ponder over the Quran, and do they not know that if it was from other than Allah, you would have found great discord in it? Meaning the fact that your interpretation of something, one ayah is discordant with the other, means that you got the interpretation wrong. So this word tawakki, the actual meaning of it is to take something. A metaphorical meaning of it is to take the life of somebody, meaning that takes someone to death, that someone dies. There are two possible meanings of this word in these ayat that are about to be read. We'll round them after we after the salat, so we don't get interrupted. One of them seems to indicate that or might seem to indicate, according to one interpretation, that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam died and was killed. The other ayah though says that they certainly didn't kill him. He was neither crucified nor did they kill him. They certainly didn't need to kill him. Rather, Allah took him off into the heavens. So out of the two possible meanings of this word tawakki, which one does it have to necessarily, by process of elimination, does it have to mean? Does it mean death or does it mean just to take something? It's a very simple issue. It's not a complicated issue. But what happens is that the charlatan Qadiani apologists, they try to use it sophistry. What is sophistry? When you hire a lawyer to say that you're not guilty, even though both you, the lawyer, everyone knows that you're guilty. So this is essentially what's going on. So we'll continue inshallah after this. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.